Well, hi there everyone, FarmSim Gamer here and welcome back to the channel. Now today I'm going to talk to you about some of the things that I would like to see in the next generation of Farming Simulator. At the moment it's not clear when the next version of the game is due out. The release of the Farming Simulator 19 in a nutshell video from Giants this week suggests that something new could be on its way, but that might just be further enhancements and DLCs that would improve the current game version. So when might a new version of the game be due out? Well, I'm not going to speculate, and I suspect that only Giants and those that are close to the program are aware of the answer to that one. Now, there have been a number of videos over the past year or so highlighting top requests for the next version of the game, but what I'm going to do today is take a look at some of the elements of current gameplay versus their real life equivalent and how improved realism could help create a more advanced and immersive level of gameplay in the future. Now, I would welcome your views on this, so please leave comments below and let me know what you think, my ideas, and what you would like to see in the game in the future in terms of enhanced gameplay. Now at the moment I'm going to focus on mainly the arable side of farming and look at things like tillage, so ploughing and cultivating, seeding and drilling, the application of pesticides and fertiliser through to harvesting, and I'd also like to touch on things like winter work that I think could be enhanced, especially if you're running seasons. Now, in an effort to keep the video fairly short, I'm probably going to split this into two separate videos and maybe do a third one on organic farming. Now, part of the reason I wanted to take a look at this is that personally I would like to see a more advanced game mode option in the future that is closer to real life farming, where you have to think and plan your work in more detail and where things like the weather would play a much bigger part in the game. Now, I'm not a farmer, but I did start my working life out on the farm some 30 odd years ago, and although it did not end up being my chosen career, I've always maintained an interest in farming, and more recently that interest has grown, and part of that has come from playing Farming Simulator. Now, I've also had the opportunity to meet up with a local farmer recently who has his own farming YouTube channel called It's a Farming Life for Me, and that has enabled me to do some videoing of the work that he does and ask him a whole bunch of questions about modern day arable farming. So big thanks to Andy for his input and for letting me use some of this footage in this video. If you're not aware of his channel, then go and check it out. I'll leave a link in the description. Now, coming back to the game, inroads have certainly been made over the past year or so in terms of more complex and real life features that make the game more immersive, and there are a number of mods and DLCs out there that support this. Seasons, the Maize Plus suite of mods, farming agency map versions like Six Ashes, Northern Coast, Lone Oak to name but a few, and more recently the introduction of precision farming, which for me is probably the most important and has the most potential for expansion. Now, all of those gaming elements have certainly enhanced gameplay and made it more complex and interesting, but there are a number of things that could be built upon that I would like to see in the game in the future. And with the introduction of precision farming more recently, and specifically the taking of soil samples, then I think soil types could certainly play a bigger part with our arable tasks that need doing. Now, making the game more complex might not be for everyone, so I'm not saying that the current game modes should be replaced, not at all, but I do think that options at startup could be adjusted and improved upon. Now at the moment we have New Farmer, the easiest mode in the game and a great place for people to start and learn about the game. The next two modes, however, are fairly similar and I think could easily be combined, but with some additional options that you can select at the beginning of your gameplay. Now, I suspect that most people at the moment, once they start a new game in Farm Manager, they come to the game settings and they adjust these to suit their level of difficulty and the way in which they want to play. So I think you could do exactly the same, but the one thing that I would add to this would be the ability to be able to select your starting budget. So once you've selected Farm Manager, the amount of money that you have available is 0, and you come to this screen, to the game settings screen, to adjust your level of budget, which could be anything from say 0 up to about 1.5 million. So if you wanted to start from scratch, then you really could do that. Now, as far as the third level of the game is concerned, then I think this is the one that could be a bit more advanced and offer a more complex level of gameplay, which could include as standard things like seasons, Maize Plus, precision farming, possibly additional crop types, and also possibly additional animal options as well. So kind of a bit like the farming agency map additions that you can get. But in addition to that, I'd also like to see other elements of gameplay that improve and replicate other real-life farming practices, and I think quite a few of those could be linked into either precision farming or seasons. Now first up, let's take a quick look at the weather. Now I think this could certainly have a bigger impact in a more complex, advanced version of the game. So at the moment, the weather has a fairly limited impact on the game. In the standard version, rain stops you from harvesting, and with seasons you can only plant crops at certain times of the year where the soil temperature has an impact on crop germination. And of course during the winter, when the ground is frozen, you can't do any field work either. But the weather can have a big impact on other areas as well. You can't go ploughing or cultivating or drilling if the ground is too wet, and spraying fertilisers or herbicides is limited if it's too windy or when it's raining as well. So in the real world, the weather plays such an important part in farmers being able to complete certain tasks that if missed has a big impact on a crop's success or failure. So I certainly think that the weather could play a more important part in the future, and perhaps things like wind speed and soil moisture level in seasons could also be introduced to prevent certain tasks being performed as well. Now while we're on the subject of seasons, the other thing I'd certainly like to see improvements on is the level of winter work that you can do. I know that certainly some people might be scratching their heads to know what they can do over those winter months. Now if you've got a lot of animals, then they will certainly keep you busy, but if you're mainly arable farming, then what are the sorts of things that you can do? And I would certainly like to see improvements in use of machinery like this, where you can dig or clear ditches and build culverts, and certainly things like putting up fences were always a big part of the sort of stuff that we would do during the winter months. So being able to put in posts and fences with a proper post knocker would kind of be something nice and unique. And then of course there's the likes of hedge cutting. Now in the UK we have miles and miles of hedges. I know that's not the same in other countries, but a large amount of time during the winter months is spent cutting and trimming these hedges. Now there's always forestry work of course, but I would like to see some further farming options and some different styles of equipment that could be used during those cold winter months. Now for ease with other arable tasks, I'm going to break things down into sections that sort of follow a chronological order. Well, sort of, because things like spraying herbicide and the application of fertiliser happen at different times throughout the year. First up, let's take a look at tillage. Now at the moment, in the game we have equipment grouped under the following categories: ploughs, subsoilers, some of which also perform the plough function, cultivators, disc harrows and power harrows. Now regardless of whether you have periodic ploughing on or not, then most of your tillage is likely done by cultivators or disc harrows. But overall, there isn't anything that separates out the very broad range of implements we now have in the mod hub into either primary, deep, secondary, shallow, or even tertiary finishing cultivation. Now ploughs and subsoilers would certainly fall into primary cultivation, but the rest of the implements are a one-size-fits-all, which doesn't really work in terms of soil or seedbed preparation. Now as I mentioned before, with the introduction of precision farming and as a result identifying different soil types, the tilling of those soil types will vary in terms of the implements to be used and the quality of the seedbed they prepare. Now as an example, let's take a look at the Amazon Sayers combination cultivator in this video clip. Now a similar in-game version would be the Velostad top-down 500 that I've just shown you. Now this cultivator is working over winter stubble and preparing the ground for spring drilling. The soil is a fairly light, loamy soil, and the combination cultivator is able to create a good seedbed with a single pass before drilling. No ploughing is needed and no further secondary cultivation is required either. However, using the same cultivator on heavier wet clay soil results in ground that needs secondary cultivation as the soil clods are too lumpy to make a good enough seedbed, and in this case a springtime cultivator was used to break the soil down further before drilling. Likewise with ploughing, particularly a heavy soil would need secondary cultivation and maybe even tertiary cultivation before it could be drilled. Even in lighter soils, the ridges left by the plough are not ideal for drilling and would likely need additional working over. So the preparation of a good seedbed is vital in terms of good crop germination and early stage growth, but that is very much linked to soil type. And now that soil types can be taken in precision farming, those different soil types could and should influence the cultivation types required to create the right seedbed for drilling. Now that in turn would impact crop yield and therefore income. Now, in order to achieve this, the game would need to separate out the implements in terms of the level of cultivation they can perform. So implements like the Vedestad Top-Down 500 or a set of heavy disc harrows would fit into the primary cultivation category, whereas a set of spring tines or a chain harrow would sit in the tertiary category. So I think that could be fairly easily done. Now, there is one element that is perhaps missing from the soil preparation category, and that's the use of a straw harrow or a stubble rake. Now, these are used after harvest to encourage any leftover grain, volunteers, or weed seeds like black grass to grow, so they can be sprayed off with a herbicide and killed before sowing the next crop. Now, that can be an important task in minimising other plants that your new crop would have to compete against for nutrients in the soil. So the introduction of a straw harrow or a stubble rake into the game would be an added lifelike feature. Now, that does link into spraying and the use of herbicides, which I will come on to separately. Now, we do need to consider no-till or min-till, so minimal tillage in the equation, whereby very little or no cultivation is done before seeding the next crop. In more recent years, evidence suggests that leaving the soil undisturbed can be better for maintaining good soil health. But overall, if we put the preparation of the seedbed quality and soil health into the context of precision farming, then the quality of the soil could be linked to yield much in the same way as the application of fertiliser is. And it could have a soil quality map in the same way that we have maps for both nitrogen and lime levels. Now, all of this might sound a bit complicated, but the idea is all geared to a more advanced method of gameplay for those that might want it. Having said that, I don't think it would be difficult to get your head around it, and like the existing fertilising and lime functions within precision farming, I think a more extensive tillage function could work in the same way that would help bring the importance of good tillage closer to real life farming practice. Now, that's it for part 1. In part 2, I'm going to look at drilling rates and seed varieties, the introduction of an agronomist that could dictate the application of pesticides and fertilisers, and harvesting and how adjusting a combine setup for different crops could impact harvest efficiency and yield. So I hope you've enjoyed the video, found it interesting and perhaps a little thought-provoking. If you have, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button and don't forget to turn on that notification bell. So thanks very much for watching. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are, stay safe, take care, and I will catch you on the farm next time. Bye for now.